Hey guys, what's up? Today I want to show you the 10 hardest modern JRPGs that I've personally played. There may be others that are way harder than the ones you're about to see today, but these are the ones that I played, that I suffered through. Now, there will be only JRPGs that were released in less than 5 years, and also obviously no ports or remakes or remasters of any older games. With that clarified, let's begin! Number 10. Scarlet Nexus. This game is weird because it starts off kinda easy. Once you fight the first boss though, you realize you'll need to use your psychic powers to hit it on the right spot at the right time, several times. After that, the balance on normal mode will turn out to be very strange, sometimes too easy, sometimes too hard. It's all over the place. There are just a few strong difficulty spikes though, which is why this game is only number 10. The biggest one for me was this boss battle. It's like some kind of mechanical power pillar right in the middle that keeps summoning annoying little flying enemies. There's a reason why everybody hates flying enemies in video games, because they're so hard to hit. And while trying to do that, it disrupts your strategy against the boss itself. It also keeps spamming these electric fields all over the floor, so you have to wait for them to go away or skillfully jump around to approach the enemies. Anyway, leaving that boss battle aside, my own personal biggest issue with this game is how hard it is to dodge right on time and how the camera didn't do me any favors. It may just be me, but I also found it difficult to fully control the psychic powers and therefore exploit the battle mechanics. There are so many controls and moves, it's hard to keep up with everything at once. Especially since you can also use your party members' skills in conjunction with yours. What's that I hear? You didn't think this game was hard? Bravo, man, good for you, but I can't go out there and pretend I give a damn. I'm here to entertain you, not to challenge you. Number 9. Persona Q2. It shouldn't be a surprise that this game is here because it's only 3 years old, so despite being on the 3DS, it still fits the criteria. It's far harder than its predecessor, which I beat without too much trouble. In here, the Etrian Odyssey influence feels hardcore, man. Hardcore. Yeah, these two Persona Q games are pretty much Persona Odyssey 1 and 2. I'm not a fan of Etrian at all. I've tried a couple of games and didn't like them, but I've heard they're amongst the hardest JRPGs of all time. Playing this game, I can now see why. It's a crossover between Persona 3, 4 and 5, but it mostly focuses on the cast of Persona 5. Dungeon crawling in first person, with great pacing and friendly mechanics. Battles are turn-based, but they take way too long, even on easy mode. There's a very easy mode, but I never tried it. What baffled me the most is how incredibly and ridiculously hard the main bosses are on every single chapter. Kamoshida is the first one, and it's infamous all over the internet for being upsettingly brutal. You can attack him head on, but it's best to take down one of his arms first, then the other, then his head. Achieving this with barely any personas, skills, and only individual buffs and debuffs, trust me, it's very hard, even on easy mode. Future chapter bosses will have similar shenanigans, but at least you'll have better personas or skills. That won't make the game any easier though. Number 8. Dragon Marked for Death. I wasn't sure if I was going to include this game because the whole point of it is to play it on multiplayer, local co-op or online. Having someone fighting beside you makes things more manageable. Offline single player mode is an infernal endeavor. It doesn't get hard right away though, but you'll slowly start failing missions for one thing or another. A quest-driven 2D action RPG where you complete stages with a time limit. But before you can complain about the time limit, let me tell you that is the least of your problems. The majority of the time it never posed any issues since they give you a lot, as you can see. Either way, stages aren't super long, at least not until the very end of the game. It's a very cryptic adventure, that's one issue. Some quests ask you to find something so incredibly hidden or that you need to get in a specific way. Bosses are brutal here, and since this is a 2D game with not the greatest combo controls, you'll have to rely often on your dragon powers. There are 4 initial characters and 2 DLC ones that control very differently, the mage one being the hardest in my experience. You can't change any characters once you start though, but you can play with them all in one playthrough simultaneously. It doesn't matter since those bosses are tough, status effects are very annoying, and your inventory is very limited. Add this all up with the cryptiness of some missions and you get an idea of how tough it is. Stick to multiplayer for more fun, I say. Number 7. God Wars Future Past. God Wars is barely 5 years old, so I'm only cheating for about a month. Still, I wanted to include it because I never finished it, not even on easy mode. 9 out of 10 strategy RPGs I play on normal. I'm decent at them, and I have the patience to learn the mechanics and exploit their systems. In God Wars I got by for a long time on normal, no problem, since it's actually kinda balanced. Late in the game though, I couldn't complete any maps whatsoever without nearly everyone dying. Fortunately, there's no perma-death here, but still it's frustrating when a character dies, so I changed to easy, but I never got past this outrageously hard boss battle. Some annoying enemies are all around the area, but by the time I defeat them and get to the boss, my characters are already hurt with their skills depleted. This game has a job system like in Tactics Ogre, but you can stick to your job the entire game, merely learning abilities from other 2 jobs. That's really cool, but it didn't help me that much against the superb enemy AI. In other words, I didn't find a useful way besides grinding and increasing my abilities to stand a chance. Unbelievable considering for the first several hours this game's kinda easy, even on hard mode, but late in the game everything wrecks you so easily, man. Number 6. Octopath Traveler. This is a game highly influenced by Squaresoft's Saga series. Yeah, all those games, Saga Frontier, Romancing Saga, you know them. They revolve around job systems and whatnot, except the Saga games stick to that and remove the experience points. Characters randomly increase some stats here and there after battle and that's it. Octopath doesn't do that, thankfully. But what it did do is increase a hell of a lot the HP of the enemies, especially the bosses. But in exchange, it added an experience system. You do level up, but getting experience is a long hard road since the enemies give you so little. Every character's chapter 2 is when things go difficult, by the way. But regardless, Octopath's grinding system doesn't do the player any favors. Another thing is that its combat focus is all about exploiting the enemy's weaknesses, attacking them with opposite elements. To make things harder than normal, a lot of bosses will keep changing those very same weaknesses. So you have to sacrifice valuable turns just to find out what's the new temporary one. It's a pretty cleverly designed battle system and it has several ways around it. Late in the game you can just change jobs and keep the abilities from your previous job and get the new ones, which is awesome. But I don't think there's any way around the boss's super bulky amounts of HP, which I feel was made on purpose to make the game even harder than it was supposed to be. Number 5. Mistover. Mistover is heavily inspired by a Western RPG called Darkest Dungeon. That's a brutally hard game there. I wasn't a big fan of either, to be honest, because I'm not really into roguelikes. Mistover, just like Darkest Dungeon, is about sending a generic party of characters with a job system to randomly generated dungeons. I do like the gothic visuals, making a very ironic contrast with the cute and chibi looking characters. Yep, that's a Japanese role-playing game right there for you. And I think the combat is pretty fun too, but it's a naturally hard game, cause the whole point of it is precisely to fight battles, find treasure and survive. Problem is that it also revolves a hell of a lot on status effects, characters getting tired, needing to go to the hospital and staying there, yeah, things like that. The enemies also use quite often certain effects like bleed, for example, which might be the most annoying of them all. Which jobs you'll use against some enemies and in which battle formation plays a key role here. In the end, what I'm trying to say is that this game is hard just for the sake of being hard, but it's cleverly designed to be like that, which is the point of the game itself. Number 4. Code Vein. There will be no Souls games in this video, I don't see the point. But I did include Code Vein for various reasons. It's not a Souls game, it just took inspiration from the brutality of those games and their combat mechanics. However, it's a pretty different RPG. Part of its difficulty comes straight from its influence, like I mentioned, but there are two more things that I also think makes this so hard. One is the class system. Classes come in blood codes, hence the name of the game. Depending on the blood code you have equipped, your character's stats will differ. Problem is, it might be a good idea to train a specific code for this or that boss. Changing to it, however, like I mentioned, increases some stats but decreases others. The exact same thing occurs with its weapon system. One will reduce some stats for no reason. Going back to the blood codes, since they come with gifts that you can also acquire eventually even with a different code equipped, they also have a restriction. Not having the required stats will impede you from using them. My point is, training these codes is a pain in the ass. I personally find this unnecessary because it's similar to a job system where you can practically change your job to fight better, except this is an action RPG, and that's the second reason why it's so difficult, because if you are not skillful at games where battles are real time, then the game will be naturally harder for you, the same way it was for me. Number 3. Shin Megami Tensei 5. Obviously an SMT game will be in this video, not Apocalypse though, because it's already 6 years old and therefore doesn't fit my criteria. 5 is hard because if it wasn't, it wouldn't make any sense at all. It wouldn't be Shin Megami Tensei. Sure, there's been some titles in the past that are less challenging, but all of them end up getting very difficult at some point. These games are designed to create the discomfort of trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic environment, so being hard fits the story actually. SMT5 is split in turns like most of the others in the series. Just like in Octopath Traveler, the whole point is to use attacks that the enemies are weak to. Succeeding in exploiting a weakness grants you an additional turn, but it's not like it'll be like this forever. Eventually, even if every party member attacked with the opposing element, their extra turn won't come and it'll be the enemy's turn. They, unfortunately, can also exploit this little system against you. So take the bosses for example, with innumerable amounts of HP and crazy stats, using this very same system against you. It's up to you, however, to find a way to counter this, for instance making your character strong or immune against the enemy's attacks, same with your party members, your demons. And that's it. The game's brutally hard because it was designed to be that way, even on easy mode, believe it or not. Number 2. Monarch. I've been mentioning that some games in this video are hard because they were developed that way, but they succeeded and became great games. Monarch tried to do the same and failed miserably. I really wanted to like this game because it has so many great ideas, but we're here to talk about its difficulty. I'll review it properly some other time. First of all, it's a strategy RPG. You will only have your character and one party member per chapter. In no time you will also unlock these creatures that look like the enemies to fight by your side. Only one at a time though, eventually you'll get more. Also eventually, you'll reach a point where other human party members can join you, but that's kinda late in the game. The thing that makes this game so freaking hard is the leveling system, not the lack of enemy variety, not the map design. Maybe the ridiculous stats of some random enemies and bosses, but no, not really. In Monarch, you don't get experience points. You level up by getting skill points that you can save up to unlock a specific ability, passive or not. So grinding here is 10 times worse than in Octopath Traveler because of how many damn points some skills require. Stupidly enough, most of the best non-passive abilities drain your health when used. And while they do good damage, you leave yourself exposed. You'll need the turn of an ally to heal, but you'll leave them exposed as well. Casual mode is a joke in this game. It's insulting how it does not make anything easier. Why? Because you don't get more points. And since that is what solely makes Monarch so hard, then it's a completely useless mode. To make everything worse, Your characters are very weak because of this system, since there's no natural way to grind and therefore to get better stats. Not to say every time someone joins your party, they're under-leveled. Enemy AI is very smart here, and often they gang up on you before you can heal or even tank them. But you know what? If you had a better leveling system, there will be easier ways around it. Alas, it doesn't, so that's why this game is so poorly difficult. Number 1. Metal Max Xeno. What an irony that I can't even decide between the original from 3 years ago or its remake. Both belong here, although I want to point out that I found its recent remake much harder, so that's the one I'll cover for the video. Not sure why it was remade since it was way too soon for that, and they messed up some really great features the original had. Anyway, Reborn is the subtitle of this new release on PS4, Switch and Steam. So Reborn made the tank controls very hard and frustrating to maneuver in the field. So moving the tank sucks balls, and it's annoying because enemies are often wandering around and they may spot you without it being your intention. Some elite machines are also here and there, and they can be so hard to avoid. Battles are played in turns with attack waiting bars, except in this remake you can move around until you bring up the menu. The one thing that makes Reborn so infuriatingly extreme is its god-awful convoluted equipment system. No matter how many different parts for armor and weapons I tried, I didn't stand a chance against the first bosses. I know it plays around the enemy's weakness as many JRPGs in this list, but it often doesn't really feel like you're doing considerable damage, and even when you do, by the time you start feeling hopeful, the boss has already destroyed one or several parts of your tank, making some of your weapons unusable! And then you die. I can't even defeat this wanted monster with the best equipment available at this point. The dog is the only party member you'll have for a while, and well, it's a goddamn dog! Of course enemy tanks are gonna take it down in a few hits! I put this game on the first place because it's simple. I can't explain the equipment system. I don't understand it. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. Others I understood and struggled but succeeded. This I have no clue. I kinda understood it in the original version and got by for a long time. Here I can't defeat a single boss or wanted monster no matter what I do. I can easily grind for hours since you can one-shot most enemies around, but what's the point? For some reason that doesn't seem to help at all. Well, I hope you figure it out and enjoy it, cause I honestly have better things to play than this mediocre hardcore remake. I don't see the point in honorable mentions because honestly there could be a lot of them and there could easily be a part 2 someday. So those were the hardest JRPGs modern that I have personally played, and that's it. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!